Ladies and gentlemen, seekers of light and secret knowledge wherever you may be, you are listening to Points of Light Radio, the podcast dedicated to taking you past the apron and behind the closed doors of lodges everywhere. And here is your host, Stan Miller.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. Shalom, assalamu alaikum. It's wonderful to be back here on Points of Light Radio, and I'm pleased to bring you my guest. You know him. That's right. Guess who's back? The man, the legend. Points of Light Radio's number one guest. That's right, Owen Snowdon, my old buddy. In today's segment, he'll be going over some RAOB regalia, Royal Antediluvian Order of Buffaloes. I got to stop using those acronyms. And he's going to be talking about his new ebook. Well, this should be interesting, right? He's always up to something, that guy. And I can't wait, like I said, to bring him to you. He's, like I keep saying, he's getting to be part of the furniture here. And we haven't saw him in a while. So, let's just go talk to my buddy, Owen Snowdon. But, as I always ask you, are you still thirsty for knowledge? Are you still searching for the light? Then just trim your lamp and follow me. My brother, welcome to Points of Light Radio.
Great to be back on.
Yes. So, why don't you tell my listeners and viewers about yourself?
Well, my name's Owen Snowdon. I'm heavily involved in fraternal Masonic societies such as the Royal Antediluvian Order of Buffalo, which we'll hear today about. I'm involved in other organisations such as the Orange Institute, the Royal Black Preceptory, soon to be more heavily involved in the Odd Fellows. Other than the fraternal side and stuff, I'm involved in. I also write my own books, so I'm up to my fourth book. I like to use these books as a way to educate people on the history of such as organisations such as the RAOB at the moment, telling people about different theories on where the origins come from. As you'll hear later on today, maybe the theory came from stagehands in the back of a theatre, maybe it came from other organisations, which my book comes into explaining a bit more. Other than that, that's about it.
Well, let's get talking about that book then. You've written this ebook. What's it called? And let's go into more of what's it all about.
Well, my recent one is called The Origins and A Theory of Mystic Origins of the RAOB. It delves into the mysteries of how the RAOB isn't founded within the halls of theatres and stuff like that. It comes from, it's, as the title denotes, it's antediluvian. So it goes into a bit of my theory and a bit of someone else's theory and discussed how it originates through the Egyptians and through even older civilizations and stuff like that. But it all tries to tell you how it got to Britain. So from the ancient Egyptians, when the Romans went over there, and then from the Romans, the Druids and stuff, it's very interesting and fascinating. I don't wish to ruin a lot of it because it's quite interesting to read.
But I thought it was really the Masons that used a lot of that symbolism and Egyptian symbolism within their within their fraternal organization. But you're saying it wasn't just unique to the Masons.
Not in the sense that certain symbols, yes, it's unique to the Masons, of course, but a lot of Buffaloism had a lot of mysticism side elements to it, far beyond my time and era. Probably before my grandfather's era and stuff, so on and so on. There was a society called the League of Light, which the society wished to stop as they saw the drunkenness and the brawlery and stuff of lodges nowadays, which is a load of rubbish. they wanted to basically create the order into a more enlightened state, so a lot more Masonic element of it. So like a lot more ritual, a lot more strict and formal, and a lot more symbolic. So a lot more symbolism involved in it. So the Mystic Star, they would do lectures on the Mystic Star and stuff like that, and like which is basically just Solomon's Seal and stuff like that. But they have their own version of it and such on and so on. But symbolism or buffalo symbolisms they were heavily using to create this new side order, which I don't believe to this day it's extinct completely. There's no living member of it now.
No, I wanted to
From my
talk to you
own
about that.
research.
Sorry, is that part of what's the evolution of the ROB? How it has evolved, like without, of course, divulging any secret work or anything. Like you really do feel that some of their degrees, regalia, and shall we say the roles have evolved and changed in meaning over time.
Well, yeah, in a sense, you're right. Like years ago, like for example, a Roll of Honor, the fourth degree, which is in the Grand Lodge of England, some banners don't recognize it. Will recognize it as a fourth degree, but they only know it as it's a degree within. It's an honor. It's
Oh,
not
okay.
there's only three real degrees in the RAOB, but there is a fourth. The fourth is obviously the Roll of Honor, but it is an honor.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's how can I say the RAOB like years ago, like the Roll of Honor, like as I was saying, that was members would stand up when they entered the room and stuff like that. This was far beyond my time. And they would stand up and like as a sign of respect because there wasn't very many people who had the honor. Nowadays,
Uh,
as it evolved, everyone started getting it. After 10 years, everyone was starting to get it, and it just become it's just another long service degree. You get it after so long, and I think it kind of destroyed a bit of the beauty side of that degree.
mhm,
It took away a bit of the privilege and honor it came with receiving that. Now, myself, I've only received the Knight of the Order of Merit, which is the third degree.
mhm.
Hope one day to get a Roll of Honor, but I can see with a lot of degrees that there's still one degree which is heavily respected still to this day, and that would be a Primo, or as it's known as a Certified Prime, which is a second degree, because that degree every brother has to earn. Now, with times have went on in certain parts of the ritual in Grand Lodge of England have been taken out, such as I think it's the obligation or declaration, one of them has been taken out. And I was highly against that because I thought, like, well, personally, I had to go through with it. And if I have to go through it, everyone else has to.
Mm.
Jokes aside, there, I do believe it was an important element of Buffaloism. So going back to the ritual side of it all, it was an important element of ritual learning and teachings. And it helped the Primo progress more through the order, knowing that they have to learn certain obligations, they have to take these obligations seriously. And it's such a shame to say it's like they're taking these elements out, but I get why, because obviously with the modern era and evolving of these with the movement of these orders, to show to a newer generation, like the more modernized and stuff, I think they do have to take certain elements out. But I'm that's where I see it from, but I don't really believe in it. They should. I think a lot of young brothers, as I've said in your other episodes, I've said love all the ritual, they love all the idea of wearing all these funny hats, regalia, and all sorts. You know, younger generations aren't interested in sitting there having a drink. We could do that in a nightclub. We could do that anywhere else. We're more interested in sitting there wearing more funny hats and wearing all the jewels and stuff. And you know that we don't get in real life. We don't get that outside of these temples, outside of these lodges, outside of these preceptories. We can get that. We don't get that element. We want that element because we don't get it. Now, I know a lot of these societies do a recruitment drives and stuff, but they're not looking towards the beautiful things they do for charity, right? I know that they advertise a charity left, right, and center. But the best thing they could do is show, like, look, we respect our old traditions and old values and stuff. Because a lot of people are traditionalists, and I notice a lot of the younger generation are traditionalists. I mean, so a lot of the younger generation want the element of like tradition, because sadly in modern times, I believe it's starting to die out, tradition,
Yeah. What about
which
the
I'm highly
brotherhood
against.
aspect of it?
Yeah,
part of
like
something special, or that brothers look after brothers. Do you see that
exactly.
within the do you see that within the RAOB, or do you think that's something they really need to get
Certainly,
back to?
certainly, I think you still see the brotherhood side of it in the RAOB, but it should be more heavily used because these societies are brotherhoods. These
Yes, they are.
societies are we're a brother. We're all brothers. We should be looking after our own first and foremost, and then charity second, which we do, but we don't advertise that enough.
Hmm.
So examples, if a member like say in the REOB had been in a few years and needed help with say certain aspects, let's say they couldn't walk properly and they would need some form of wheelchair or something, the REOB would then discuss that their lodge would discuss it, then their minor lodge would discuss it, then their provincial lodge would discuss it, and so on, and they would try to raise the funds up to buy that brother that wheelchair. Now that's an excellent idea, excellent view of brotherhood,
Yeah.
because you're seeing your fellow brother down and you're trying to lift him up.
Hmm.
And I think that's a very important element of brotherhood, which they should be advertising a lot more of.
But about the evolution of it now, prime example, like certain roles within, for instance, I think in Freemasonry they call it the tiler at the door, things like that. Do you think those things? I don't know what you'd call it in the RAOB, but do you think that those roles have evolved? Maybe they had a different significance, shall we say? There was maybe a genuine need for security of some sort, or, with their grips, handshakes, things like there were reasons they kept it that way because there were security concerns.
Yes and no. I think today we still have a tiler.
Yes, of course we do, but it
but
was.
it's just, I think it's solely down to the reason of yes, I get where you come from. Like back in the old days, it was like people would want to know what's going on behind that door
Yeah.
and want to eavesdrop or be a Cowan or whatever or Craven and listen and find out the secrets or what's going on in that back room. They wouldn't
Yeah.
let me in, so I want to know what's going on. But now modern times, I don't really think there's many unless it's Freemasonry. A lot of people have that mystery and curiosity towards Masonry because of obviously all the documentaries and all these TV series on Illuminati and all these
Oh yeah.
crazy theories. People think there must be some secret knowledge there. Well, there is secrets.
Of course there is,
but
but
that's you've got to go and join and find out. They're not going to tell you behind they're not going to tell you in public or behind that closed door unless they're trying to vouch for a brother trying to enter that lodge. There's ways of entering and ways of leaving.
of course there is.
There's
Yeah.
no way to get those signs and passwords.
Now you said you had some regalia you wanted to share with the audience today.
Yes, actually. So I always show GLE regalia. Now I'll have to try to turn the camera off. Second, I'm just sorting the background out so it doesn't interfere. There we go. Now in the REOB, I've always discussed the regalia side of it, but I was thinking of showing you the first three. My own personal jewels, the first 3 degrees, which we've discussed a little bit on the show. So when a brother joins the REOB, they become a brother or what they known as a kangaroo, hence the kangaroo element at the bottom.
Okay.
And then once that brother has served so long and gotten his kangaroo jewel, the brother is then can go stand in front of examining council. It might be different in other banners, but under GLA, it's known as examining council. That brother then has to learn a lot of things, what we've discussed. So learn the obligation, well, they used to learn the obligation, declaration, open and close a lodge, a lot of other things, the rules and how to conduct a lodge, etc. And then they would receive this. They would receive this once they have been deemed that they have passed the examining council to a certain appropriate standards, because that's the thing, that we can't let standards drop, so they have to go front of an examining council. Now, after this brother has served 3 years as a certified Primo, that brother is then eligible to be raised to the to a higher degree known as the Knight of the Order of Merit, which itself is very delved within like Peter the Hermit and stuff like that, which I'd love to come on your show and talk a bit about the Knight of the Order of Merit.
Okay.
Because it's quite an interesting degree you can read this in the rule book, because the rule books are public, but the signs and passwords, of course, aren't. But the Knight of the Order of Merit is given after 3 years of a brother being a primo. And then after, I think, 4 more years, you are then eligible. These degrees are all eligible except your first and second. You are then eligible to be raised exalted to the Roll of Honor, which is the 4th degree, which is quite... Is it the 4th degree or is it just an honor?
Yeah. Wow.
But
yes, you can still lead a lodge. You can still lead a lodge without the 4th degree, can't you?
Yeah, as long as you've got a primo. You must always have a primo, because only the primo may take the chair of office.
Okay.
Because his 1st degree can take the city marshal, but there's 2 colours in the lodge which you may not take unless you are of primo, which would be the Alderman of Benevolence, which is a very old sounding colour.
Yeah, of course.
Which would be given to the retiring worthy primo after his month of office. And then obviously the primo who is taking up chair in the royal chair as a sitting or worthy primo. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a great organization, but it's sadly in desperate need of new members and young members as well to keep these great traditions going.
Yeah, and I think it, like you say, it's evolved over time. I think it has survived this long. I think it can, with a little bit more evolution, it can probably go quite a bit further. But but you're a member of a number of organizations. Do you feel that the RAOB is just as special, shall we say, as all the other organizations you're in? It's unique on its own, right? It doesn't take a back seat, shall we say, to any of the other bigger organizations that you're in?
I would say, yeah, I would agree with you on that. None of them take a back seat. It's just like that. The most important thing is you could join any of these societies. You could become any degree. We could get risen high as you could possibly. But the most thing I lack is time. The time constraint on, say, like, right, I've got to go to that meeting, but then there's that meeting later on this week as well. You've only got as much time as you can give. There's no extra time. That's the problem in this.
Yeah, it is.
Try to keep them all off the back burner.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Now, I mean, you just wrote another book. Do you have any plans to write any more books? Give us a sneak peek.
I've currently got a sneak peek. I've currently got one in the works about the different sections. It's called RAOB. The different RAOB sections of the RAOB. It's basically the history about the different banners. So, for example, like when I was on about before showing some regalia, as you can see, the Knight of the Order of Merit in Grandland of England.
Bring that apron over. Bring that apron over. Oh, wow.
In England, there's also the Grand Council, which their apron in the Knight of the Order of Merit is blue. So degrees like that, there's a lot of different colours. It's like they're...
So you would wear the apron. Would you wear a collarette with that when sitting in the lodge, or a sack?
Oh yeah. They wear a full regalia of the RAOB would be a little collarette, your jewels, your sash, your apron, cuffs, the big gauntlets. So if you look the deal when it's all up, and I hope to one day come on your show and show you some examples of it.
Okay. Wow. Well, you know what? I appreciate your time today, and all the best to you and the RAOB, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Owen Snowdon, brothers and sisters. Don't you love having him here? It was great having him back. And he'll definitely be back. I mean, he's doing another book, things like that. We'll definitely be having him back. And it was interesting having him cover the RAOB a little further and some of that regalia, right? We've had him here covering different organizations, but I'm looking forward to actually having a look at his new book as well. And this is the thing. There's so many people, for instance, with Freemasonry. There's a lot of Masonic authors out there, and it's wonderful to have someone authoring books on the Royal Antediluvian Order of Buffaloes, isn't it? We need people to gather to write books about the evolution and the history of all of these other organizations that are out there, and keep some record, shall we say, of a lot of, because the RAOB is an organization with a tremendous amount of history to it, right? But I'm afraid that's all I have time for today. It is getting rather late here. That's the problem when I interview people from the United Kingdom. We have to account for the extra time difference. But before I go, I want to remind you that this podcast is available on both YouTube and Spreaker. Please share, like, and subscribe when viewing Points of Light Radio on YouTube. I also welcome your comments and input. You can follow Points of Light Radio on my Facebook page at facebook.com/Points of Light Radio. You can see the link to my Twitter handle, as well as the link to my Points of Light Radio store and Spotify channel. But brothers and sisters, it's been a pleasure fellowshipping with you and my good friend Owen Snowdon, but until we meet again, just step in